Powered by Riverside FM.
In conversation, a Kiwi once described to me the UK's house prices as a housing crisis. He isn't the first person to use this term, and he won't be the last. UK house prices are indeed very high, both by historical standards and by international comparisons. As of 2024, the median house price in the UK was £290,000, while median earnings were £37,000, a ratio of 7.7. This is the national average. In hotspots like London, the ratio for house prices to earnings is at least 11, and in certain boroughs it's significantly higher than this. What does the ratio tell you? I think of it this way. If you were to take the average earnings and assume that person was neither taxed nor had any other expenditure, it would take them 7.7 years to pay off the house. But people are profligate, and they do spend money on other things, including luxuries like food. So, in reality, it will probably take as much as 4 or 5 times as long as that for people to pay off their houses. And in some cases, they will never be able to. Why are house prices so high in the UK? Understanding house prices is extremely complicated. Houses are not like many other commodities, especially in the UK, where they have been traditionally used as an investment and store of wealth as much as somewhere to actually live. Although they do have that nice property that once you buy them, you can actually live in them. Nevertheless, like most goods, prices are ultimately determined by demand and supply. In this case, demand is influenced by population, but it's subtly more than that. It comes from household formation, by which I mean to what extent do people want to live as a household unit. This includes people living longer and more independently, and a reduction in the size of the average family or household. On the other side, changes in supply should also affect prices, at least in classical theory. When supply is restricted, prices will tend to be elevated. And while the UK housing stock is increasing slowly, it's not as fast as many would like, and at a rate that lags behind demand. One factor that is often theorized as contributing to these high prices and slow supply is the hotly debated Nimbyism. Nimby, Nimby, stands for not in my backyard. In general, it refers to residents who protest about changes or developments in their local area, occasionally literally in their backyard. In this specific context, it is a more disparaging way to refer to preferences being expressed and channeled through the broader suite of planning laws and consultation requirements. It encompasses zoning restrictions, approval processes, building height limits, heritage objections, and greenbelt objections, all of which reduce the possibilities for house building and slow down the rate of construction. But why are people NIMBYs? It's a range of reasons. It can be because they fear the pressure on resources in their area, such as increased traffic or congestion. It might be that they fear changes in the composition of the neighborhood itself. And for many, it's also about the environmental impact and potential loss of habitats and countryside. But we should additionally note there is also the self-fulfilling mechanism that increased supply would tend to lower property values. NIMBYs may actually want higher prices. They are the incumbent homeowners who benefit from restricted supply. Once they're on the property ladder, they don't want others to be, at least not implicitly. I doubt that they feel this in a personal sense towards potential buyers. Simply, they recognize that higher prices benefit them. Do planning restrictions actually lead to higher prices? This would be the classical view, but one academic school of thought is that building more houses just attracts more people and achieves more agglomeration, in turn pushing up prices even further. However, if we stick with the classical school of thought, then planning restrictions do lead to higher prices. And this would lead us to conclude that they lead to other detriments in society, such as lower geographic mobility, including for people seeking jobs, and more generally, wider inequality. Let's have a look at somewhere that's often cited as a NIMBY city. London is often cited as facing acute housing shortages, with demand far outstripping supply. House prices remain among the highest in Europe. Local borough councils often face pressure from residents to preserve neighbourhood character. For example, proposals for new housing in areas like Kensington and Chelsea, or Camden, would typically face strong local opposition. This is in part because of the Town and Country Planning Act and local planning frameworks, which give communities significant power to delay or block development. But what's an alternative? The opposite to NIMBYism, or the opposite to being a NIMBY, is to be a YIMBY. Yes, in my backyard. Somewhat flippantly, this term is sometimes used for cities which have much more liberal planning laws. Tokyo is often cited as one example. Japan's national zoning laws are far more permissive than those in London, and local governments have less power to block development. As a result, Tokyo has consistently added large volumes of housing, including high-density apartment blocks. Tokyo typically adds around 100 to 150,000 homes per year. Is that necessarily a good thing? One result has been comparatively moderate house prices. Tokyo's housing prices have remained stable or even fallen slightly in real terms. But on the flip side, Tokyo is known for being an absolutely huge urban sprawl. So there are no easy solutions here, unless we all take in a roommate.